As an internal medicine physician, I've spent 20 years watching my patients age and decline. You've probably seen it in family members or maybe yourself. Here's my top 4 steps to reverse that. My first top habit that I use to live well is sleep. Yes, sleep routinely, do it during the dark hours, and get at least 8 hours. You see, this decline problem I was talking about is because of insulin. That's what I blame. I blame insulin. I've seen it in my aging patients and their decline of not just health, but their mental faculties. And looking back, I spent about a decade with excessive insulin and developing insulin resistance. And it's my goal to reverse this and live to 100. And I don't mean just live to 100, I mean live well to 100. That's the difference between lifespan and health span. And to get that health span, we do need to keep insulin in its place. The second thing that I do is I eat a ketogenic diet and I fast every week for 48 hours. I mean fast, like water, salt, black coffee. On that ketogenic diet, I plateaued and I had several health problems that improved, but then I just flatlined. Nothing got better. Insulin was winning again. And if I want to ignite autophagy, which is that ultimate place in science where we reverse age, it actually recycles unused proteins or the cells that are at the end of their life. They just shoo them on to the next phase. Autophagy is an amazing process that reverses those problems. And once I hit that plateau on a ketogenic diet, I really needed to push my metabolism to reverse those problems. And I do that when I fast every week for 48 hours. So fasting stresses my metabolism and allows me to be pretty good for 5 days a week as long as I do that push of my metabolism for 2 days a week. Because what I'm really doing during that time is I'm using a flexible fuel. Our bodies are designed to use glucose, and it's easy to stay in the lane of glucose only. It really takes practice for our bodies to keep using ketones regularly. This gets harder as we age. I've been keto for a long time, and when I use that metabolic stress once a week of fasting, I know that that flexibility of using ketones for several hours in a row keeps my body in shape on the inside. It also keeps me using the most important fuel in my brain. Yeah, brains are able to use both glucose and ketones, but they work better when I'm fueling on ketones. Let's take a look at this study. Here we have your brain energy over here on the side. And of course, we want 100% of your brain to be energized. And when you were a kid, young, healthy, 95% of those brain cells used glucose as their fuel, and only about 5% used ketones. But the most important part is that 100% of your brain was fueled. Let's move on to elders. So they've been around the sun a few times, and that insulin has had time to wear and tear on their brain cells. That insulin resistance makes it difficult for the glucose to go from the circulation in their blood into the brain cell where it can be used as fuel. So now they only have 89% of their brain being fueled by glucose and 3% with ketones. And that leaves an 8% deficit. There's 8% of their brain that does not have adequate fuel. So it's like it's gone. When patients present to my clinic with memory loss, they're found to have 12% of their brain is not fueled at all. They have, yes, 85% from glucose, 3% from ketones, but once it hits 88% of the cells being fueled, leaving 12% of them offline, they measure as early Alzheimer's, otherwise called mild cognitive impairment. Not what you want to have for that long health span. We took those folks struggling with mild cognitive impairment and we added medium chain triglycerides, specifically C8 and C10. As we returned the fuel of ketones to their circulation, they recruited another 4% of their brain to be fueled by ketones. This pushed them above that 88% threshold, and now they had 9% of their brain that was missing the fuel. If we added even more of that medium chain triglyceride, it corrected it even further. So to live to be 100 with a good health span. I'm working on my sleep. I'm fasting once a week. I'm making sure that the fuel is flexible in my body, glucose and ketones. And finally, I use a sauna every week. I try to stay in that 180 degree steam sauna for 19 and a half minutes. Not only does this improve growth hormone, but it improves that insulin sensitivity. Sauna and growth hormone, it goes together like bacon and eggs. In the next video, I'll teach you about it there.